For more than 30 years, people have been trying to figure out how to fix public education in America. One place no one would ever think to look is the Pentagon. Why would we?
Let's go! Let's go!
While everyone knows that the U.S. military trains soldiers for war, how many know it also trains its children for life?
Try to use some of the vocabulary words that you see hanging around the room.
It turns out that the Department of Defense operates some 200 public schools on bases in the U.S. and overseas, with 100,000 students from pre-K to high school. In subject after subject, their student test scores are among the best in the nation.
We've thought that some of these schools might be highly militaristic, might be very sterile, and we found just the opposite.
These kids live at Fort Campbell, an Army base in Kentucky. Parents here let their kids walk to school or wander off down the street without a worry. It's almost like Disneyland in a way.
Exactly, or as one commander said, it's Leave It to Beaverland.
But on Leave It to Beaver, everyone was white and well-to-do. Here, where anyone who lives on base can enroll, nearly half the students are black and Hispanic. Many of those families barely clear the poverty line, according to Fort Campbell School Superintendent Ray McMullen.
That's correct.
But here, low income doesn't mean low achievement.
You can look at our kids. You can't tell what economic level they're at.
By their scores.
By their scores. Some of the poorest families have found great success in our schools.
And the Pentagon has accomplished something which has eluded public schools almost everywhere else, narrowing the achievement gap between minority kids and white kids. That means that among minorities, their students score at the very top of national tests in reading, writing, and math, which raises the obvious question, can this be exported? Parents everywhere would like to have what you have here. High scores, safe environment, disciplined classrooms. Can it really, honestly, be duplicated out there in the real world?
Absolutely. It can be duplicated everywhere in America.
How many of you will go to college? These high expectations, regardless of race, are the product of a culture as close to colorblind as anything we have in America. Everywhere we looked in the Pentagon schools, we saw parents, gobs of them. Where parents are involved, students do well. Where they're not, achievement suffers. Principals and teachers are under orders direct from Washington, from the Pentagon, to include parents.
And you can make your butterfly any color you want.
Parents, like Anna Carmona, wife of an infantry sergeant, are free to wander into their kids' classrooms anytime they like, unannounced. The soldiers themselves are involved parents, too. They're actually given time off to go into the schools. But in school after school, urban, suburban, and rural, parents aren't doing it. In the Army, they're ordered to. And if they don't get involved, they'll hear about it. The superintendent can call their commanding officer and complain. Not everyone thinks it's so easy to duplicate. Roy Romer used to be governor of Colorado and chairman of the National Education Goals Panel. Now he's superintendent of the huge Los Angeles school system.
There's an expected behavior of parents in the military. That's wonderful. But it's not the world that we live in.
It's not the real world.
Off the base.
In Romer's real world of labor troubles and budget battles and overcrowded schools, everybody gets blamed except the parents.
I think you don't hear about it because we don't want to acknowledge it. We don't want to acknowledge the degree to which the family has disintegrated in some ways.
Listen to the lesson.
And here's a dirty little secret. Lots of regular public schools, maybe most of them, don't really want parents around. Did any of you in your other schools feel that the school did not want you there?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That they just put up a barrier?
You're kind of an outsider, and it's more like intruding and imposing yourself to be a part of your child's education.
I can just see the teachers in some schools, parents, trouble.
Right.
At many schools, even the buildings send that stay-away message.
Every time I walk into one of my schools out here, I see three signs on the pillars out front saying, beware, don't enter before you check in with the principal. We have a hostile atmosphere sometimes.
I had to sign in to get through the gate at this school.
We ought to have an atmosphere where you're welcome.
Of course, there are good reasons for the security measures, but parents aren't the enemy, and they're often made to feel as if they are. You are at a college of education. What is taught when teachers go to school about parents?
That they are scary, that they are threats, that they are to be avoided. Colleges of education do not teach teachers to develop productive relationships with parents. It's not done.
That's a pretty remarkable admission, that teachers are trained to push parents away. And it makes the attitude of the Pentagon teachers, like Michelle Todd, all the more notable.
The parent knows that child like I will never know that child. And I need them to make it complete. I need the parent.
You almost never hear about teacher burnout at the Bay schools. Maybe it's because they're well paid or because they love the disciplined atmosphere. But they say the biggest reason they like teaching here is the productive relationship with parents.
Bringing parents in and parental involvement becomes part of the art and craft of teaching in DoD schools, and that's what is very impressive. But again, that is transferable. It's a mindset. It's a way of thinking about parents as partners and not as adversaries.
The partnership means so much to parents that at Fort Campbell there's an 18-month waiting list for base housing.
We're willing to have a little smaller house, make some sacrifices for the school.
You'll take the smaller house, the lesser house, the no equity in the house?
Yes.
Because the schools, in your view, are that much better?
Yes.
How important are these military schools to keeping people in the Army?
I was going to get out the military, I really was. But because my daughter is doing so well and stuff, I would rather sacrifice and stay here. My daughter made the A and B honor roll twice. She has never done that, never.